Well, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 really turned out to be an absolutely astounding game. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and yes, indeed, the sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, even that game was absolutely amazing and got only better with time, and then, of course, much more DLC coming along the way, and then the eventual announcement of the second game and now its release has really shown that Kingdom Come Deliverance as a series is an incredible example of a just amazing world done right, with gorgeous buildings, an amazing story, and of course tons of great voice acting. But what does that have to do with Manor Lords? Yes, indeed, it has been confirmed that, as we kind of thought before and has been soft confirmed before by Greg, that Manor Lords is now getting castles and is going to be working on sieges, and then eventually will be working on AI cities. And I'm here today to talk all about it and compare a little bit of, well, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, because I've been playing the heck out of it, with also Manor Lords. Manor Lords has been so impactful that, again, remember, it was the #1 most wishlisted game on Steam in 2024, and when it dropped, it was amazing to play it for the first time and build tons of cities. And at that time, I hadn't even played Kingdom Come Deliverance. I wanted to play it eventually, and I did start that a little later last year, and I even went to Warhorse Studios in Prague and was able to chat with them and see some of the voice actors in their motion capture room and see how they were doing things, and kind of had some secrets told to me that I kept until more recently, and it was an astounding experience. So thanks to them for opening the door to me. And after starting to play Manor Lords and, of course, then into Kingdom Come Deliverance, I really couldn't not think about both of them, especially with that first-person mode in Manor Lords that lets you walk around your very own cities time and time again when I would be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. And especially now with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with the massive city of Kuttenberg, I thought to myself, this is a perfect example of how things could go in Manor Lords. Now, the buildings in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 look just absolutely breathtaking, and I want all of these buildings, or at least the possibility of building buildings that are this detailed, to also come to Manor Lords. And I hope that Greg, of course, is playing this game as well, and gets a lot more ideas and things that players like that he could also include in his game. Now, there's tons of things that could be included into Manor Lords, and Castle Sieges are just one of those things that we knew eventually would come to the game. And also, recently I've been comparing Manor Lords to another game by the name of Foundation. And Foundation, say what you will about its graphics, is certainly a much more colorful, vibrant, and lighthearted graphic style to a game that is absolutely well beyond Manor Lords in terms of it now being released after about, 7 years or so in early access, at least it feels like it. And now with Foundation out, it's amazing the things that you could do, from building your own manors, your own castles, your own cathedrals, and your own little taverns, and of course making like different types of inns and things like that if you'd like to. I want all the features of Foundation combined with all the things that I love about, well, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now, there probably won't be combat or anything like that in Manor Lords where we can do it ourselves. There already, of course, is combat in the game with commanding troops, and it is more of an RTS city builder with a heavy emphasis more on the city building part. But I want there to be much more that I can do. If eventually the day comes where we could build a city in, well, Manor Lords that looks like something out of even Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, that'd be amazing. Imagine rebuilding Rattay or maybe Skalitz or something like that in Manor Lords. But then again, imagine Kuttenberg. Yeah, that would be absolutely just the most insane thing to ever happen. And what's incredible about this is that the folks over at Warhorse who made Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 had the highest attention to detail. When I went to their studio, I was kind of walking through and seeing that they had these glassed off areas where there were people working quietly in low light environments, and they were making the beautiful, beautiful maps of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So I got to see the maps there, and the amount of detail that are just in the maps for the game is insane. And they love detail, and so does Greg of Manor Lords, and that's why we have all these beautiful maps that have been developed now. Of course, we had our original map, and then we got the two new maps, the smaller one, which was more of in a canyon, and then the other map that was a beautiful river valley, and now we're going to get some new maps that, are super exciting, as well as castles and more. So I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I couldn't talk about Manor Lords without now finally being able to compare it to all the time I've spent in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and completing that main campaign and all, or most of the DLCs, and having over now 100 hours in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. All three of these games are really just tied together to me, to how insanely beautiful they are and how breathtaking not only just the environments are with the rain effects and, the weather and day-night cycles for both games, the grass, the trees, but also the costumes of all the characters, of the soldiers and the civilians and nobility, and then of course the buildings themselves, which, yeah, they're really good. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the big update coming for Manor Lords with castles, new maps, and more. Let's go. So yes, as it was confirmed a while ago by Greg, he wanted to now start focusing on castle building in Manor Lords, and in addition to that, he also wanted to start working on a bigger focus of the castle planner. That includes the sieges and almost a rebuild of how the castle planner will work, as it was kind of clunky and, I don't know, a little frustrating to use it in the original launch of the game, which really hasn't been toyed with much at all. Many people, against what Greg said you should do, tried to wall off their whole city by using the Manor tools, the castle builder tools, to build a wall around their whole city and build guard towers and whatnot, and that will no longer be necessary. We're also getting a new map, and that's awesome, and that's a big thing for me. I'm huge on maps, and so that's massive news for me. The map's name will be Devil's Hill, and Greg is also considering to build a new gameplay mode into the game based on that, because there's a ton of plentiful resources in the middle of the map, and so he wants lords to fight over the top of the hill or whatnot and build a castle up there as if it were something like Troskowitz or something like that. Oh yeah, there's that KCD again. But yes, I am very excited to see that the castle planner has been rebuilt and that it'll be somewhat tied to the Lord's level, which means that you can't just by default build a gargantuan castle and that's it. You'll probably want to first build your manor and then make incremental improvements to your manor to then build a much larger castle, or maybe possibly delete everything you've got there in terms of walls and towers and then rebuild those. So there'll be a lot more details, I guess, for the castle planner. We have yet to see what this will look like, aside from this GIF and some other things here. It looks like there's a lot of customization options for the towers, the walls, and battlements and other things, kind of reflecting the defenses of the castle itself. And then, of course, that could also be built around the manor, too, and other things will have to be upgraded. So there's a whole progression system that goes beyond just, hey, you've upgraded your town, go ahead and build your manor, throw a wall around it if you want, but it doesn't really matter in the gameplay. Now it will, because now we have sieges that will be coming too, and so a castle and battling for strategic positions will be much more important. So the landscape and getting a good spot on the map, and then fighting for that spot, and then securing it while building a castle will be an incredibly important thing. Now, stone castles are going to make a bigger reason to actually get stone in the game too, so hopefully there's a lot more ways to actually get stone aside from just those small deposits. I don't know if the small deposits or the deep deposits really matter too much anymore. I'd love to see that reworked, but with that up on the table for discussion, as well as a whole rebuild of the progression system, which we're about to talk about in a second, that should be something I am super excited about and want to see how that works. Now, there's going to be a whole rework to how the progression works in Manor Lords. The system is being reworked, and a lot of people have said that they find the current development tree not really immersive. It's not really finished anyway, so Greg's taken the opportunity to rework that part of the game, and it is a little difficult to try to marry a few things together, both gameplay to make it fun, realism to make it, fun to actually play something that's historically accurate, and also to take into account all these different parts of history to try to make it as fun as possible, easy to understand and learn and to do, but, you don't want to have it too fantasy-like from people who want to see like a castle take 100 years to build. That might be a little too long. Some people might want to do it in the course of a few hours. So from Greg's perspective, he loves historical inspirations, but he's not a historian, so gameplay will continue to be the most important thing for him, but he continues now to redesign again and again the design documents of the game that are really outlining some of the things like, I'm hoping the development points and how big a city has to be and what kinds of things make a larger city. Right now it's, tied to X number of burgage plots and X number of tier, and then you unlock a bigger and better city, which allows you to get those development points for things like charcoal burning or apples or honey, and I want those to be in there by default. I think some of the basics like that should be almost present in every city. You should be able to grow apples and have honey and things like that without having to spend a point. Same with charcoal burning, but I feel like those points should go towards something maybe a little bit more complicated, like more into blacksmithing and more into possible castle developments or something like that. I don't know, but the fact that the door is open for redoing the castle planner and sieges, and also with AI cities coming soon, I hope that some of the things that are in the development tree that are being discussed now are going to be something that is like a few steps ahead, right? We got updates that are going to be coming for Manor Lords every 3 to 4 months or something like that. And so I hope with every new update we get a new map and then a new gameplay feature that was promised and delivered, and then of course later on expanded upon. I don't expect this to be the best castles will ever be, and I think that it'll be really cool to see, really cool to build, but I don't think we're going to see the last of castles for a while. And I hope we also get to build town walls too, and I hope that's something that we get in addition to that later on. If we're going to get AI cities, it would be cool to see those cities be able to defend themselves by building walls as well. So to be able to siege not only a castle, but a walled city, and siege that for a while would be really cool. So big things to take away. A new map by the name of Devil's Hill, which is specifically designed to show off those castles and tempt a possible maybe new game mode that Greg's thinking about, which I'm all for. More game modes? Hell yes. Please give me more things like, for example, a ton of wild animals or something that are super dangerous, like the beginning of Farthest Frontier, or maybe like in Stronghold when you have to fend off so many waves of wolves and stuff that they're relentless. It'd be really cool to start with a fledgling city that desperately has to defend itself and then eventually get up to a certain tier. That's like one of my fantasy things that I'm just throwing out there. But anyway, I want to know from you what you think about that. But this is a huge update to Manor Lords, something that we really all wanted for a very long time. Many people kind of disappointed about the manors really not being included in any sort of the combat, and really all it does is spawn your retinue, and it's just kind of a custom point to set your tax rate, spawn your troops, and that's about it. But going back to what I mentioned about Foundation earlier, that game does allow for an insane amount of detailing to your manor, and so I would hope that perhaps we could build a manor and then a castle separately, and then use the manor for like maybe a tax office and a bailiff's office or something like that for the city, and then have your castle be the one that controls like the whole region as a whole, like the whole map or something like that, like your seat of power for the map, and then maybe a bailiff's office in each of the little towns, because it does look like crime and punishment will eventually be a thing in Manor Lords, and I would love to see how that gets developed sometime, like dungeons and having to keep people on guard, and having a town patrol beyond just having a retinue on standby and people who of course are in the militia. Once you sound the alarm, all the farmers come running, that kind of thing. So big positive future for Manor Lords, a lot of hype and excitement, and I cannot express enough how happy I am about Kingdom Come Deliverance. For me, playing it years after its release, being such a great game, and then being hyped for the second game, and then playing those after playing Manor Lords. They're really just like the perfect combo. It's insane. I want to now be able to have the options in Manor Lords, hopefully one day with mods, and with the game coming out 1.0 eventually down the road. Again, it would be so cool to be able to rebuild any of those cities from Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, especially with some of them up on the hill like Talmberg, and build a castle and a walled city, or at least some fortifications and a few buildings behind the walls, like you would in Stronghold. So I'm really hoping for a game that gives me the look and feel of Kingdom Come Deliverance with that realism, Manor Lords with Greg's ingenuity and ability as a single man to make something that's just beautiful, and of course the fun of Stronghold when I first played it, where it just kind of blew my mind that I was able to build gates and walls and towers and mine stone and cut down trees, and this combining all that, as well as all the realistic battles too. And with the castle coming soon, I wonder how that's going to work for fortifying those towers, or rather garrisoning them. You'll have battlements, you'll have towers, so I wonder if our retinue can take to the walls of the castle as we're besieged, or if like there's going to be a separate defensive mode for that, where like perhaps the castle has its own garrison that's separate from the retinue, or maybe the retinue could fight inside. It'd be really cool. I hope to see something like where if we're going to be sieged, there has to be siege engines then, like catapults and trebuchets, and I need to be able to see a breached wall, and I want to see combat inside the castle walls, on the battlements, in the towers, and maybe even the ability to try to burn down a castle, especially if you're attacking the enemy. Man, imagine if you're the attacking force and you get a chance to, set up a trebuchet, and you're hitting the enemy, and you're able to start, firing flaming arrows and try to burn down wood structures or roofs and things that are in there to just try to maybe hurt the morale of the enemy. That would certainly be something that would go above and beyond. But these are things that I think Greg needs to put in first as stepping stones, and then can start dumping in all the gravel in between those big stones. If you're building a path, that's exactly what you want to do. Greg has already leveled the land and is starting to put in big stones that are big features for Manor Lords, and then eventually I think he needs to circle back and take smaller pebbles and stones, and then eventually gravel, and sweep all that up and fill in all those spaces to really link all those big stones together. Having a massive army is really fun. Having those militia that you can hire off the map is outstanding too, but I want to be able to do more in this game, and I hope perhaps he's paying attention to KCD2 and probably is a big fan of it, honestly, and really takes into account of how some of those buildings look and how there's certain features within that game that could definitely fit into Manor Lords. But he has to make his game first and what he thinks is best, and then take our feedback as well, and I'm glad that he asked for it, and everyone knows that this is a two-way street, and this is why people cannot stop, including myself, praising him and bowing to him, because honestly, it's cool to have a dream like that, have it take a very long time to come out and just be like, you know what, I'm not really wanting to do anything other than make a game that I'm proud of, and I want it to be right, and I want it to be something that people can give feedback to as well, and I'm open to that, and, you know, ask every once in a while, how do you think the market should work? How do you think the tavern should work? And again, it's just a great opportunity to praise somebody who's moving it as fast as they can, but shouldn't be rushed, because then we're just going to end up with you know, some diluted crap that really doesn't give us what we want. So I think Manor Lords is a great example of a few great stepping stones in a long path to release, and I think this game should be in early access for maybe 5 years or more before it actually gets released, especially if it's being done by one man. If you go back and look on the channel of the game Foundation, that game started out, you know, with the ability to build a little castle too and some houses, and was very much like Manor Lords back in the day, like 5 years ago, and I cannot not compare those two games. Like, seriously, it's just a great thing to see Foundation releasing, and then to see those possible features that could come to Manor Lords as well. All right, everyone, well, thanks for listening to my rambling and babbling, but honestly, it's incredibly important that I express to you how excited I am for me, because we're absolutely going to be playing Manor Lords again, and we're going to be playing this castle updates as soon as possible. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell, and hit the like button too, and share this with a friend, because everyone should know, if they've been waiting for Manor Lords to finally get castles, it's coming. We have yet another new map, which will total it up to 4, and then of course we'll possibly have new game modes and some other things. Now, for those of you wondering when does it come out, well, again, remember, Manor Lords the game is already out now, but Greg has made it clear that this is just a preview of an update coming soon, so it could be, as the last big update was, it was the day before Christmas, I believe, so perhaps it'll be the day before my birthday. March 22nd would be the day before, meaning it's on the 23rd, so not long for me. So it'd be a great birthday. Greg, if you're watching, March 20, give it to me on the 22nd, Greg, just for me, on the 22nd, that'd be great, on that Friday. Appreciate it, man. I'm just kidding. All right, you guys are awesome. Thanks again for all your feedback, thoughts, opinions, and whatnot down below. I can't wait to read some of them and see how excited you are for the Manor Lords update. And let me know what kind of a castle you're going to build first. Is it going to be, you know, you're going to try to replicate something, or I don't know. With all those images you're seeing, though, it seems a little limited for now, but we'll get there. I hope. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you. Goodbye.